Um, right. So that was the article. It's, as I said, quite simple. It's designed to be simplistic. There's a few grammatical errors I noticed myself, um, but I mean those are things that are not necessarily quite so important to the overall vibe of it. Do you guys have anything that you think we should add to it?
I, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I suppose you could probably add something like, when speaking of a valid structure, we're talking about having each premise follow from each other premise, and the inferences and those inferences lead to the conclusion.
I think it
But
should be a little bit more
it's
specific in that bit.
just expand on it a little.
Yeah, that's fair. What about you, Philip?
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed the article. I think it depends on what role it is playing, how successful it is. But I think from what I've seen, it plays exactly in the role it should be playing in,
Yeah.
and therefore it is very successful. Namely, it is just sort of an idea to at least differentiate in the minds of people between what is valid, or at least that there is a distinction between valid and sound. And I really, really enjoy the sort of chess analogy there, because I think it is like really, really good in terms of like explaining that there is this distinction, and yeah, having at least like something that people could attach
Yeah.
to make sense of it. It doesn't explain, exactly why something would be valid, but you would have to get into sort of definition of operators and truth tables and all of that. And that might be a bit painful for that article. That is why I think that it works really well in the sort of context in which it is meant to be read.
That's a good point, though.
I
I think a
suppose,
link to something on truth tables and things like that would be useful at the end.
yeah, because I think people don't realize, like they just think that validity, even if you talk about chess, they just think that validity is sort of something that feels right in a way. I get the sense, when people read a argument, and then if they feel like the sort of the conclusion follows from the premises, if they feel that, they'll
Oh, we lost you, Philip.
feel that they will say, "Oh,
You're
really?
back. Yeah.
You're
Okay,
back.
sorry. Yeah, my internet connection might be a bit weird." Anyway, like what I was trying to say is that I get the sense that a lot of people online, when they talk about validity, they just they just think that it is sort of like a feel or something, right? That if they feel like if the conclusion follows from the premises, then it is valid. And so they will assess an argument based on how they feel about the structure. But validity is really, really well defined. Like it's extremely well defined. Like you pretty much, that's why I like in conversations, you cannot disagree about validity really, because it really is like sort of mathematical. It's almost like saying 1 + 2 = 3. There is really no disagreement on it once you understand the truth tables. It's just about how the uh, truth tables are defined, and then you can just see what is valid and what is invalid. So that I think is important. But then again, the article was not meant to do that. So I think it's very, very successful in what it attempts to do.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe just one thing that came to my mind is it might be useful to say something like, okay, when we talk about soundness and the strategy of, how good the strategy of my moves is, or something like that, which is the analogy that it was trying um, to get at. I think it's useful to point out, that whatever strategy is going to be, sound, it also has to be valid, in a sense that it presupposes validity. It presupposes that the person is going to play along with the correct rules. Because that is something that people sometimes don't get, that soundness entails validity. So if something is sound, it must be valid as well, because validity is a component of soundness. You cannot have a sound argument without it being valid.
In the article, it does actually say not only does the structure have to be valid, but the premises have to be true. And then it says if we consider the chess example again, we would be thinking of a move that was not only valid, but was good.
Okay, I see. Then I missed it. I'm very sorry. Then it's perfect.
Whilst we're stretching the metaphor, the premises that need to be true would be along the lines of blah de blah. So, and then I did put in a bit later about a rook into a position where it's easily captured, it would be an unsound move, even though it was valid. So
yeah, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. I didn't realize.
Maybe I need to reword it though. I mean, if it didn't come through, then it's an indication of that doesn't, even though it's there and it's mentioned twice, it doesn't necessarily read to the reader. So maybe on the bit, maybe it needs to be, whilst we're stretching the metaphor, the move or structure needs to be valid, and the premises that need to be true would be. So I mean, it's just adding that just a little bit in there, just to sort of hammer the point home, because it says it there a couple of times, but then there's an image in between, and I mean, even just that image in between is enough to sort of make someone's mind go, "What are we talking about?" I mean, that's how my mind works anyway. So cool. I put that one in. I put in a couple of notes to where I have to come back to add a truth tables link in, and to expand on valid as well. Were there any others that you think that we need to cover off?
No, nothing particularly springs to mind.
No, I think again. Yeah.
Sorry, Philip.
No, go ahead. I was just sort of agreeing with you.
Yeah, no, I was just going to kind of repeat what you said earlier. It's not really like an intro to logic sort of thing. It's just to help people get an understanding of how certain things might work in a nice, easy analogy.
Yeah. It's a pre-intro to logic, really.
Yeah.
I think that is actually a very good way to put it.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff is really helpful.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Were there anything in the chat that was relevant to it, or was it quite easy going? Maybe I need to do a more controversial piece for this sort of thing in the future. We'll try again with something that people are just going to be arguing about.
Yeah.
Well, Leon says, Leon says you don't understand logical at all. Yeah, your article is completely wrong, because being logical means having scientific evidence.
According to whom?
I'm going.
Awesome.
That's now become a trigger content type thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe I get what you're saying, Steen. I mean, maybe it is worth grabbing some tweets that are relevant and to discuss for something like this. I mean, yeah.
I have some that spring to mind from today. I could offer the article if you want to.
Yeah, you can chuck them in. I mean, it doesn't even need to go into the article. It could be just for a discussion point right now. We don't even need to put the people up on screen. You can read it out. We don't need to necessarily name and shame.
Yeah, well, I can. Yeah, I agree. I can find them.
Unless there's someone who is making a massive impact with, so many people, because they've got thousands upon thousands of followers, and they're outright wrong about a number of things, like a few people we do sometimes mention. I don't see the point in naming and shaming the average person. I'd much rather they see this and realise, oh crap, that one was about me. Oh, I guess I was wrong. There'll be a lot more fighty if they're not doing it. Whereas if it's someone high profile, it's more about the other people who need to realise that person who's high profile is